In a land where rivers remember and secrets never drown, a child was cast away, forgotten by the world, but not by destiny. From the depths of the water she rose, a girl of light, carrying mercy in her hands, loved by many, yet tied to a past she never knew. And far away, the one who abandoned her is now dying, haunted by cries of the river. Two lives, one truth. A journey of pain, forgiveness, and the power of destiny. This is the story of Osanachi, the girl the river refused to forget.
For 20 years, Kwame and his wife Amina lived in a quiet little house by the riverside in the town of Nyaribo. Their love was deep, but their home echoed with an aching silence. No child's laughter, no baby's cry, only the endless murmur of the river, flowing like a cruel reminder of what was missing. Every morning, when the sun was still young in the sky, Amina would walk slowly to the riverbank. Her steps were heavy, carrying the weight of years of disappointment. She would kneel, touch her belly softly, and whisper like a broken prayer. "Spirits of the land, bless me with one child before my time is gone." Her voice trembled with longing, each word soaked with tears unshed. It was the same plea every day, rain or shine, cold or heat. Her heart broke a little more each time silence answered her prayer. Kwame often sat a little behind her, watching. Once a hopeful man, his lips no longer prayed, his hands no longer lifted in faith. He only sighed, like an exhausted wind carrying sorrow. Sometimes he wanted to hold her and promise, "It will be well," but the words had dried up long ago. He feared giving her false hope, yet his silence hurt him just as much. In Nyaribo, people began to whisper cruelly. Some said, "Her womb is locked with chains." Others muttered, "No, maybe it is Kwame. Perhaps he devours his children in dreams." Their words cut like knives, but Kwame and Amina never replied. They carried their shame quietly, clinging to each other as the world mocked them. They visited hospital after hospital, their hearts pounding each time, desperate for an answer. But doctors only shook their heads. Medically, nothing is wrong. Nothing was wrong, yet nothing was right. When hope from medicine faded, they turned to prayer houses. Prophets poured oil on Amina's stomach, pressed her forehead, and shouted, "Fire! Receive your baby now!" until she fainted, like a dry plantain leaf falling. Each time she awoke, her heart broke anew. Desperation dragged them further. A native doctor, with a beard wild as a broom, his voice deep like thunder, gave them bitter herbs. "This potion opened wombs drier than stone fruit. Drink it," he promised. They drank, faces twisting with the bitter taste. But after a month, Amina's belly remained flat as polished stone. They tried stranger rituals, midnight baths in the cold river, carrying calabashes, chanting strange words, walking backwards under the pale moon. Yet the moon remained silent, watching like a distant judge. Some advised them to sow a seed. Kwame, with tears hidden in his eyes, sold his only motorcycle, the one he used to carry firewood to market. "The spirits will see our sacrifice," he whispered, though his voice cracked. Amina, frail but determined, endured a 14-day dry fast. Her lips cracked, her body trembled, but she still whispered with hope that flickered like a dying flame. Perhaps the divine wants more suffering. Year after year, their pain grew wild, like reeds in rainy season. Then, in the 15th year, came betrayal, clothed in holiness. A self-proclaimed man of God, draped in flowing robes, looked at Amina and declared, "The only way you will conceive is if you lie with me. It is a sacred covenant." Amina's world shattered. Her eyes widened in horror. With trembling lips, she cried, "No, never," and fell to the ground, weeping like a wounded child. That night, she clung to Kwame by the riverside. They didn't speak. Words lost meaning. They only sat in silence, listening to the frogs sing in the darkness, holding on to each other as though love was the last thing they had left. From that night, they withdrew. No more prophets, no more doctors, no more strange sacrifices. Their hearts could not endure more humiliation. By morning, they packed their belongings and moved farther away, away from people, away from judgment. They built a modest hut by the river. Only the two of them remained. No laughter, no visitors, only the quiet sound of water flowing like time itself, carrying their unspoken grief. Far away in the bustling town of Zurima lived a girl named Naledi. Her skin glowed like morning light. Her hair tumbled down like palm fronds. When Naledi walked through the village, even goats paused to stare. Boys followed her with wide eyes, and men whispered in awe. Her friends teased with laughter, "Naledi, you are too beautiful. If I had your face, I would marry a governor." Even strangers at the market murmured, "This one is not a village girl. She shines like city gold." Her parents adored her. Her mother cooked her favorite meals with love. Her father bought her gifts with pride. But Naledi's heart was restless. She felt caged. At home, rules pressed down on her spirit. Naledi sweep the compound. Naledi fetch water. Naledi wash the plates. Each command burned her pride. She hissed under her breath, "Am I a servant in my own house?" She longed for freedom, to breathe, to live, and to be seen not as a daughter bound by chores, but as a woman with her own wings. One evening, after overhearing her parents discuss her future, something inside her snapped. That night while the household slept, she packed a small bag. Some clothes, her mirror, her creams. She left a note by the door. "I have gone to find a better life. Do not look for me." At dawn, when her parents found the letter, panic tore through their hearts. Her mother wailed, her father's voice cracked as he shouted her name into the streets. "Naledi, Naledi, come back." They searched every corner, but it was too late. She was gone, like smoke vanishing into the wind. Naledi walked until her feet ached, but she didn't stop. Every step carried the fire of freedom. Eventually, she reached a new town where no one knew her name, but her beauty betrayed her anonymity. Her figure turned heads, her smile drew eyes like honey draws flies. Women whispered with envy, but even they could not deny her radiance. She rented a small but neat room. Her new life unfolded quickly. Short skirts that danced with the wind, gowns that hugged her curves, bright lipstick, perfumes that lingered in the air long after she had passed. Best of all, no chores, no scolding, no rules. She woke when she wished, laughed when she pleased, and surrounded herself with new friends, girls like her who lived for enjoyment and freedom.
Naledi's new life sparkled with color and noise. She and her friends painted their nails in bright shades, their laughter echoing through the streets as they danced to loud music in the open air. They posed for pictures by the roadside, blowing kisses at passing cars, enjoying the thrill of eyes that followed them. One evening, as Naledi caught her reflection in the window of a parked car, she whispered proudly, her lips curving with satisfaction, "Now I am free." But freedom has many faces, and some carry hidden chains. One afternoon, while Naledi was passing a large mansion, a man draped in white cloth with a heavy gold chain around his neck noticed her. His eyes followed her every step like a hawk circling prey. His name was Chief Jabari, and that single glance marked the beginning of a new chapter in Naledi's story. Chief Jabari was not just wealthy, he was drowning in riches. His houses stood like palaces. His cars lined the compound like soldiers waiting in order. But beneath his pride lay a gnawing emptiness. Though he had 4 wives and 7 daughters, not one had given him a son. That absence tormented him like a shadow. Often he muttered bitterly, "All this wealth, but who will inherit my name? Who will carry my blood forward?" His wives had tried, fasting, praying, begging prophets, but still, daughters came, never a son. So when Chief Jabari first saw Naledi walking past a bustling store, her waist swaying like rope in the wind, her skin glowing like peeled yam in water. His heart leapt wildly. Desire and hope collided inside him. "Who was that girl?" he asked his driver. The driver only shrugged. "I don't know, sir." "Find out," Jabari ordered, his voice sharp with hunger. Within 2 weeks, Naledi was walking proudly into his compound, draped in a red wrapper, her face radiant with makeup and ambition. "Beautiful girl," he said with a smile that carried both charm and need. "Big man," Naledi replied, her laughter sweet, but laced with calculation. From that day, he showered her with gifts. Gold that sparkled in her hands, money that filled her purse, finer clothes than she had ever touched. He treated her as though she were the only woman alive. Soon he declared boldly, "I want you as my wife." Naledi's eyes widened in disbelief. "Wife? A real wife?" "Yes," he said firmly, his eyes burning with desire. "The one who will give me what others could not." Naledi leaned close, her voice soft and silky, her words heavy with promise. "My lord, I will give you a son." That very night, their traditional wedding was performed. Drums thundered, dancers filled the compound, laughter and song rose into the night like smoke from a burning fire. Naledi's heart pounded with pride. She had arrived. When she moved into Jabari's mansion, his other wives watched her with eyes that masked their bitterness. They noticed how he laughed only with her, how he touched her hand tenderly, how he ordered servants to bathe her in rose water and lay blossoms on her bed. Jealousy burned in their chests, but they smiled thinly in silence. Every morning, Jabari pressed his palm to her stomach and whispered with trembling hope, "My queen, my son is on the way." And just like that, Naledi became the chief's number one. Then one dawn, before birds had begun their song, Naledi woke with a jolt. Pain surged through her stomach. She rushed to the toilet, vomiting again and again. Her hands shook, her breath raced, and then, her lips curved in trembling joy, she clutched her belly, whispering with fierce triumph, "It has happened." The maids ran screaming to Jabari's chambers. "Sir, madam is unwell." He leapt from his bed like a man reborn. "What is wrong? What does she need?" When the doctor examined her, his lips spread into a smile. "Congratulations, Chief. She is carrying a child." Chief Jabari's joy exploded. "Ha ha! My son is coming." He clapped, danced, roared like thunder. "Call the drummers, call the cooks. Let there be celebration." From that moment, Naledi was no longer just a wife. She was a queen. Maids carried her instead of letting her walk. Fresh meals appeared every 2 hours. Pepper soup steaming, soft yam dripping palm oil, pineapple water cooling her throat. Her room smelled of blossoms, her bath water perfumed like royalty. The other wives watched from the shadows, their hearts tight with bitterness. In hushed corners, their whispers dripped like poison. "So this is how she takes all the chief's love, because of pregnancy. Let us see what she truly delivers." But Naledi did not care. Each time Jabari laid his hand on her swelling belly, her eyes gleamed. "My son is kicking," she whispered. Jabari would close his eyes, nodding with reverence. "Yes, my heir is strong." Even the townspeople spoke with awe. "Naledi has achieved what others could not. She is blessed. She is chosen." Yet at night, when the drums were silent and she stood before her mirror, her smile vanished. She rubbed her stomach fiercely, whispering into her reflection, her eyes dark and unyielding. "This child, you had better be a boy. If you come as a useless girl, you will regret it." To her, she was not just carrying a baby, she was carrying a throne. Then on a night when the moon hung full and heavy, Naledi's scream shattered the silence. "Ah, it's coming, it's coming." The midwives rushed in, herbs and cloths in hand. Outside, Chief Jabari paced like a caged lion, his chest pounding with restless hope.
Inside, Naledi writhed, sweat soaking her body, her hands clutching the mat as cries tore from her throat. Hours passed until at last, the baby's cry pierced the night, a thin, soft sound, fragile yet alive. The first midwife looked down and froze. The head midwife leaned in, frowned, and whispered, "It's a girl." Naledi sat up instantly, her voice sharp with disbelief. "What? No, check again. You must be mistaken." The midwife shook her head gently. "Madam, it is a baby girl." Naledi's smile crumbled, her chest tightened, her voice cracked with fury and despair. "I promised him a boy. I told him I would give him a son." The baby blinked innocent eyes, her fingers curling like seashells, her tiny lips seeking comfort. She was tender, pure, untouched by the cruelty of expectations. But Naledi's heart turned cold. There was no joy, no gratitude, only fear of failure. Her eyes burned with desperation as she turned to the midwives. "There was a poor woman who delivered tonight in the small hut behind the compound. I heard she had a boy. Let us switch. Take my girl away."
"Please, give me her boy. Help me," Naledi begged the midwives, desperation shaking her voice, her eyes wild like a trapped animal searching for escape. The women stood in silence. They exchanged glances, sorrow pressing on their faces. Then one of them spoke softly, almost like a mother scolding a child. "Madame, we do not trade children. This child is yours. Carry her." Naledi looked down at the tiny baby in her arms. The little girl yawned, her face calm and innocent, unaware of the storm raging in her mother's heart. The baby's fragile fingers reached as if searching for love, but Naledi's soul found no peace. The child she had brought into the world was not the one she desired. That night, when the drumming had faded and the compound had sunk into sleep, Naledi slipped quietly out of her room. The infant was wrapped in soft cloth, breathing gentle breaths like morning breeze. Naledi did not cradle her like a mother. She held her like a burden. The compound was still, no barking dogs, only the croaking of frogs and the baby's soft, uncertain whimpers. At the river's edge, where the mud was cold beneath her feet, Naledi paused. The river stretched wide and dark, its surface moving slowly, as if in thought. The child whimpered again, her tiny lips opening and closing, searching for milk. Naledi's eyes hardened, but her hands trembled. "I cannot raise a girl," she muttered, though her voice cracked. "A girl is useless. I promised a boy, a prince, not this." Her heart pounded, yet she lifted her arms and with a sudden motion, splash. The baby struck the water. The river opened its arms, silent and unresisting, carrying the infant away. For a brief moment, the cloth floated, then vanished into the black current. Naledi wiped her palms on her wrapper, her face blank, no tears, no fear, only cold silence. Slowly she walked back to the compound, like a woman returning from market, though inside her chest, her heart throbbed like a war drum. They called her Osanachi, the girl with mercy in her hands. Even the crops around Johnny and Binta's house seemed to grow taller and greener than others. "Maybe it is her spirit," the farmers would say. Wherever she went, she carried peace. Children followed her like chicks, trailing after a mother hen. Old women stopped to bless her on the road, their hands trembling as they touched her head. Boys admired her beauty, but even in their hearts, they knew this was not a girl to play with. Her presence was like light, warm, bright, and sacred. But Osanachi never knew the story of the river. She never knew that once she had been thrown away. To her, she was simply a daughter of Faju, the only child of Johnny and Binta. Yet light cannot be hidden forever. One day, truth must rise like the sun. Far away in Ekinzi,
In the once proud compound of Chief Adewale, shadows were beginning to fall. One morning, the maids knocked on his door. "Chief? Chief?" No answer. They pushed the door open slowly. He lay still on the bed, hands folded on his chest, eyes forever closed. Chief Adewale had died in his sleep. There were no loud wails, no thunderous cries, only silence heavy enough to choke the air. His brothers descended on the estate like vultures upon a carcass. Lands were seized, houses divided, farms claimed. The great compound that once shook with music and laughter now fell into stillness. One by one, his wives left, scattering like frightened birds from a dying tree. Amanda was the last to remain. Her daughters had grown and married far away, sending only words, never visits. She stayed in the vast, empty house. The same house that once echoed with feasts, pride, and children's laughter was now filled with dust, cobwebs, and shadows that clung to her skin like sorrow. Then, the strange things began. On nights when the moon was full, she would hear it, the faint cry of a baby. Wah, wah, wah. Her heart froze each time, her skin breaking into sweat. "Who was there?" she whispered, her voice quivering, but no voice answered. Only the haunting cry that cut through her bones. Her body began to betray her. Dark spots spread across her skin like curses. Her lips cracked, her fingers grew pale and thin. Doctors in the city, healers in the village, roadside prophets. None could save her. Injections, herbs, fasting, nothing worked. Her body rotted slowly. Her bones weakened. Her breath came heavy. One night, she looked into the mirror and gasped, "What is happening to me?" But the mirror gave no answer. Only the walls whispered with the sound of a baby crying and of a river that never forgets. Then came the night of the visitor. The wind was slow, the lantern burned low, and Amanda sat weakly in her room, her breath rattling like dry leaves. Suddenly, knock, knock, knock. She froze. Who was there? Her voice trembled like a broken drum. Silence. She opened the door, and there stood a woman. She wore a white wrapper, her eyes sharp like blades, her bare feet untouched by dust, though the ground was dry. "You are dying," the woman said. Her voice was not loud, but it filled the air like thunder. Amanda staggered back, gripping the door frame. What do you mean? Who are you? What do you mean?" The woman stepped forward, her presence heavy, like a storm cloud. "The river remembers. What you threw away is still alive. Only she can save you." Amanda's lips parted, but no words came. Her chest heaved, her eyes wide in terror. "You have until the next new moon. If she does not bless you, you will die." And just like that, she turned and walked into the darkness. Amanda stumbled outside, tears running hot down her cheeks. "Wait! Who are you? Please!" But there was nothing. No shadow, no sound. Only the night. Only the silence. Only the river, whispering softly in the distance. Find her before it is too late. The next morning, before the rooster crowed, Amanda tied her head with an old scarf, packed a small bag, and stepped out of the abandoned house. Inside the bag lay the only thing she had kept from that night long ago, the small charm bracelet that once circled her baby's ankle, strung with a red thread and tiny cowries. Her body was weak, her skin dry, her feet swollen, but her heart beat wildly.
I must find her. I must live. She walked across towns. 1, 2, 3. She knocked on doors. Please, do you know a girl who came from the river? Have you seen this bracelet? Some slammed the door in her face. Some shouted at her, chasing her like a madwoman. One man even threw water on her and spat, "Go away, witch!" She fainted on the roadside 3 times. Strangers gave her water. A kind woman gave her bread. But her body grew weaker. Her slippers tore, her voice cracked, her eyes burned red like charcoal. Every night, she counted the days with stones. 1, 2, 3. 6 days before the new moon, she reached Faju. As she entered the town, the river breeze touched her skin. It hummed softly, like it had been waiting. Amanda stopped, her lips trembling, her knees weak. This place, it feels familiar. But the river gave no reply. It only flowed, watching, waiting. That afternoon, Faju erupted in joy. The village square beat with drums, women ululated, children danced in circles, banners waved high. People shouted with pride, "Osanachi! Osanachi!" She had been accepted to study medicine in Lagos. The girl of light, the child the town adored. The girl from the river stood in the center of the square, her smile glowing like sunrise. Her hair was neatly braided, her white gown shimmering in the light. Around her ankle jingled a small charm bracelet, red thread tied with tiny cowries, the same one placed on her as a newborn. Each soft jingle carried through the air like a whisper of destiny. Joy filled the crowd. Children clapped, women sang, men beat the drums. But then, at the edge of the square, a shadow appeared. Amanda. Her wrapper hung in rags, her body bent with weakness, her lips cracked like dry earth. Dust clung to her skin, but her eyes, weary, desperate, searched the crowd until they froze on the bracelet. Her breath caught, her chest pounded like thunder rolling through a storm. "No, no, it cannot be," she whispered. Her knees buckled, and she fell hard into the dirt. Crawling forward, each movement trembling, she stretched out her hand toward the girl in white. The crowd gasped. "Who is this woman? Is she mad?" But Amanda did not care. Her finger pointed at Osanachi, her voice thin and broken, yet sharp enough to pierce silence. "My child, my daughter, please, I am dying." The music stopped. The drums stilled. Even the birds seemed to fall silent. Osanachi froze. Her eyes met Amanda's, eyes filled with pain, guilt, and pleading. In that instant, something unexplainable stirred deep inside her chest, as if a hidden thread had been pulled. Amanda's voice shook as tears slid down her cheeks. "I gave birth many years ago. I promised him a son, but it was a girl. And She choked, her body trembling. "I walked to the river, and I threw her in." Gasps scattered through the crowd. Women covered their mouths. Men muttered in disbelief. A chill fell over the crowd. You are the one," Amanda sobbed, her voice raw with despair. "You were that baby. The river spared you. It gave you a new family, a new life. You grew into light, and her body heaved with grief. "And I am dying. They said only your blessing can save me. Please, before the new moon. I do not want to die." The crowd stood frozen, their eyes darting between the girl and the broken woman. Behind Osanachi, Binta and Johnny stood silently.